Hi guys, how are you? We have our guest today, my wife Marie, and we are going to ask her some few questions just to share for others to learn a little bit about the lifestyle here in America and everything. So the question which I want her to talk about is overall just we can talk a little bit education, especially when people have little kids. How do you register your kids at school? Is the school, I mean, if you go to public school, which many people are going to public school, is it free or you have to pay for tuition fees, just like maybe in Tanzania you have to pay from primary to high school and all those kind of things. Talk a little bit about the education system, especially from primary to high school or elementary school to high school for immigrants to understand.
Okay, so basically in the United States, taxpayers, what we pay in taxes, and there are various taxes, whether it's at a grocery store or the yearly taxes or whatever it is, those go towards having a public school system. And our public school system, it depends on where you live. So you can say a private school is better than a public school, but it totally depends on where you live. So there's some excellent public schools, and maybe that private school is not good. So you can't say that, like in Tanzania, most public schools are not as good as the private school, where it used to be the other way around in Tanzania.
Yeah.
So here, basically, public school must start for your child at first grade. But they tell you it's really important to get them in earlier, and nowadays I would never keep my child out of school until first grade, because they're going to be so behind. So kindergarten is the first year. They have to be 5, usually like 2 months before school starts. Each school district, state, everything, they tell you all of those things, and it's fine. You can go online and you can type in like schools in my area, public schools in my area, or whatever. Anyway, okay. So there are even schools that will start your children, like Head Start, that can be free to lower income, and you can get your children into a learning system earlier, and you can find out about Head Start on your own. Head, H-E-A-D, Start, S-T-A-R-T. Just Google it and you'll find out about it. So basically, public schools are free, but with that, some inner city schools have uniforms, but most public schools do not have uniforms. There's a dress code, but you don't have to wear a uniform. So I honestly cannot tell you what happens with uniforms in those public schools. I have no idea. And then usually in junior high and high school, that's usually between 6, 7, and 8th grade, and then 9, 10, 11, 12. There are going to be school fees, maybe some book fees, just different things. But of course, if you can't afford it, it depends on your income. There are ways to get help, and you can find out how to get help. You don't have to be feel shame to ask for help. There are always ways. No one's going to be turned away. Okay, even if your child wants to be in band and play a musical instrument, there are ways to not have to pay for the musical instrument, there are ways. So they want you to get an education. So basically, in order to sign up for school here, you need to contact your district. Almost every public school that I know of in the United States requires your child to be of a certain age for starting that year. They also might have a screening where they just want to see where your child is at, so they know where to put them with what teacher, etc. They're going to ask for a vaccination record. They want to know every single vaccine your child has had, because in a public school system, they have to be vaccinated. I honestly don't know what allowances anymore there are for children that have not been vaccinated, like certain vaccines or all vaccines. I don't know. There used to be religious exemptions, but I don't know if they even allow that anymore. And I know that our daughter and our son both had to have what they call like a whole checkup, physical checkup and we had to show proof that the doctor signed a note saying they were okay to go to school, they were healthy, well. And the schools usually, and in the United States, you're required to have some type of medical insurance, whether it's provided by the government or there's different things. So Ernest talks a lot about public charge and other videos that you can look on that. So I'm not going to go into that. But there are always ways to get the help you need. Do not let your child go uneducated. There are, you can even, say that you feel you're going to homeschool. Homeschooling, where you are going to get your materials from the state or online or whatever, and you homeschool, you teach your child at home. A whole different thing, and it's not just do whatever you want. And who cares if they pass? You want your child to succeed in life. You want them to have a good education. If they don't have an education, it's very difficult to succeed. So you really want them to. But I'm not saying don't homeschool. I have plenty of friends that homeschool. But it's a process, and you have to be. You have to give reports to the state too.
Yeah.
So
I want to add something on that. If you are brand new, you are immigrant. I don't advise you.
School.
Let professionals in the system do the right job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless otherwise you are a teacher and you know this system before, but I don't advise you're brand new and just trying to do
I agree.
own. Because your kids needs also to integrate into American culture.
Yes.
So by being with others is another way for them to know things too.
And it's even with COVID, not every state is back to in-person school, but they are getting that way. And your children, our children, all of our children need to have that interaction. To be able to be social and communicate, that's another success. And I know that there are special needs children. There are children that are on the autism spectrum, or they have special needs, various medical conditions. Our public schools have to help your children. That's part of, it's just a real
part of human rights.
Yeah, but it's also a blessing for our country. I really do believe it. And it's gotten better over the years, and better and better and better, where they're actually integrating these special needs children with the regular classes. Where it used to be when I was growing up, those special needs children were put in a class by themselves. And now they're, because why should your child feel strange around another child just because they have a medical condition? That's, so we're taking away those stigmas. Anyway, so there are things in place for your children if they have special needs. That, if your child is in a wheelchair or your child has whatever it is, ask.
And
don't assume that there's not help.
And can you also add, when it's nearby the time to open schools, there are so many organizations that can give you free bags or free resources, of that.
Okay, so a lot of times, depending on where you live, there are a lot of organizations, nonprofit, or even the police department or whatever. You have to find out. Ask around. Ask churches. Ask friends. Ask online. Ask Facebook. It's not bad to ask for help. Being humble is a great thing, and it will empower your children, and it will empower you. So we've done this. We've gotten free backpacks. We've gotten free school supplies, free shoes, free clothing. There are ways that this can be done, and you just have to ask around. And you might have to show up at a certain time at a certain place. You might have to show proof of residency, which means I live at this place. So you bring in, for example, a water bill, or you bring in your rental agreement or whatever it is to show. And sometimes they don't care. Sometimes it's just whoever wants it can have it. But don't take away from somebody that truly is in need. Say you, for whatever reason, have a lot of money. You can go buy your stuff yourself, but I know that most people that are watching this want to know if there's help. Yes. And even if they send home or email you, say, a school supply list, and then you start going, oh my goodness, there's paper, there's pens, there's pencils, and there's this binder, and there's this and that and the other, how am I going to afford it? No public school will turn away your child if you don't have those supplies. You just have to let the teacher know. Don't be afraid to say, we can't afford these supplies. I can try and buy some of my children these things, or I'm trying to get it from this church. And you don't even have to, here in the United States, you don't have to belong to those churches. Yeah. It's a community service that they're doing for the community. It's not, oh, if you're only this religion. No, they're doing, that's just how people are here. So make your needs known, but don't take advantage
of that.
Don't be selfish, because there are people everywhere that need help, and there are a lot of people that feel ashamed to ask for help, even Americans. So don't take more than you need, because there is always a need, whether you see that or not. And I will tell you that even if the churches have extra and then they can't give it to somebody here, they'll probably send it with their missionaries overseas or something else. So, but reiterate, do not be afraid to ask for help.
And the bigger one you pointed out is there is no shame, because coming from Africa, there are certain things you cannot do. For instance, I'm giving an example. Let's say I go to visit someone, or there is a public event like Thanksgiving somewhere, and there is leftover. I cannot take food at my home because it is bad. It's bad behavior. Why should I take the food home? Because that is poverty, bad behavior. I don't eat at home.
Can I explain that?
You can, before that, okay. So you can talk about that one, but also talk about like the same way. Just because, let's say, you go to get public support, it doesn't mean that, oh, this is bad. They think that because I'm African, I'm poor. There are people who are in America, they are also poor. There is poverty in America too. You have to understand that.
So are you sure that the light is still okay? I just want to make sure. Sorry. Okay, so first of all, here in the United States, there's still like a stigma for some people that if they were to take their food away, it would make them look like, I don't know, whatever. But seriously, there are more people that take their food with them home, which we call leftovers, than there are that leave it on the plate. Because here in America, we have huge portions and things cost money, and people, why would they want to waste their food? So almost all restaurants have some type of takeaway containers for you. You don't have to bring your own, and they'll help you so you can take it home, and then the next day you can have it and for lunch, or you could take it, whatever. This is extremely common in the United States. Extremely common. I have never been shamed for taking stuff with me. The only time I've never taken things with me, I was at this really fancy restaurant that Ernest took me to years and years ago. The prices weren't on the menu. That's the only time I wouldn't take something home. But most people aren't going to places like that, you know. So it's not a problem. You know, the server will come to you and they'll say, "Are you finished?" Would you, and you can say, well, I'd like to take the rest of my meal home. Or they might even ask you if would you like some boxes for you to take your things home? So just so you know, and then if you have a microwave, you put it on a microwave safe dish and you can heat it up. Styrofoam can melt in the microwave and it can destroy your food. It can also...
Oh, you put a foil.
Foil? No foil! That aluminum, okay, there are some microwaves you can do it, but really, most of the time, no, and it will cause fire in your microwave, so don't do foil. The easiest thing I can tell you to do is to have like a paper plate or a regular glass plate or a ceramic plate, whatever, and either put a napkin or like paper. They say sometimes it'll start a fire, paper or a paper towel, or just put another plate on top to heat it so that you don't get this splattering all over your microwave. They actually sell plastic microwave safe covers. So, because who wants to clean their microwave every time they heat something up? Well, I don't. So, taking food away is extremely common, and you should never, and I will tell you this, Americans are big on sending people home with something. I don't know where this came from. I'm not really sure because it's been around a long time, because people make jokes about their grandmothers saying, are you sure you don't want more? Or their mother saying, are you sure you don't want more? It's just a thing. People, they feel it in their heart to make sure that when you leave their home, you have enjoyed your stay. You've been fed, and this is a really big thing here. It's just so important to American culture. I mean, I'm not saying everybody, so this is general. I mean, there are people who have crazy families, so I don't, but you would never want to say, well, could I take this home with me? That's a little bit much, right, Ernest? You would never ask somebody, can I take this food home with me?
No.
that would be strange in American culture. But if they offer, would you like to take something home? And if you don't want it, be honest.
Don't take it and go and throw away.
Yeah,
no.
Never, ever, ever. Because, I mean,
there is no hard feeling to say no.
No hard feelings. Americans are pretty good about that. And even if they're hard feelings, do you want to waste food? I mean, that someone else could have eaten. Let me give you an example of something that I will tell you. There was a person, I'm not going to name who had a wedding. And they had all this extra wedding cake. And the wedding cake had sat out because they had an outdoor wedding. And it had sat out for hours and hours. And their relatives insisted on taking the cake home, and they were going to eat it. Even though the cake was now no longer good. There'd been bugs on it and all these other things, and it's just, so we did, the people took the cake home and then threw it away, not to hurt the other relatives' feelings. There is a reason to waste something. But in general, you don't want to waste. Now, leaving food out here in America can be very, very dangerous. Food is not, we have a lot of preservatives, but we also have very soft stomachs. And so...
We have to end the light.
Oh!
Okay. We're about to end, yes.
Okay, so please be careful with your food. And what was the other question? And I forgot.
No, that is okay up to now because we are outdoor and it's almost 9. So thank you so much, Marie, for being here. And
I love
can make
sharing.
another video. Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone.